Hello, and welcome to the Interjections podcast, where we look back 30 years at a movie that we hope is going to be a hidden gem. This month, we're looking back at May 1995. I can't believe how fast this year is going. It always seems to compress very quickly. Every single year we do the podcast, we're already on the 70th episode. We're looking at Forget Paris, which is a romantic comedy with Billy Crystal and Debra Winger. But wait, I'm not going to give the synopsis. We always do a spinner wheel, as I like to call it. And we have one right here that we're going to pick out. You'll notice I left Jimmy in there because he is still part of the podcast. And he's just stuck out. He's been traveling towards Mount Doom. And we'll hope he'll come back. I don't know if that's going to affect the entire universe. You know, I've heard things about volcanoes, but if it comes up with one of the two remaining Jimmys, then Cory took it last time. I think Jeff and I have to take one of the others if he's not back in time to take it himself. So
fate of the world rests in his hands.
Exactly. So he doesn't need to worry about a little.
He's our anchor being.
He doesn't need to worry about a little forget Paris. He can forget Paris himself. So let's hope it just brings up Cory itself, because he hasn't done any officially. There we go. Of course, the brightest one. Beforehand, I was talking about all the colorful ones that I made were taken away. Like there was a green, there was another orange, but anyway.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cory gets to go twice in a row.
Perfect. Okay. So basically this is, as Tristan remarked, this is a romantic comedy, but it's told in a kind of anecdotal form by a couple who's recapping the love story between a basketball referee and a travel agent, I believe she is.
Yeah.
And
works for an airline.
She works for an airline.
Yeah, I guess it's not.
Yeah, she's not really a travel agent. She does.
Yeah, I don't know where exactly.
She does the amenities.
It's kind of like PR because they lose his father, who's being buried in France. It's very hyper specific about why they meet. But anyway.
Hey, Cory's telling the story.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. Well, actually,
not me.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of like
the story, but I'm retelling the retelling of the couples.
Yeah, we should pass it off to Jeff next.
Yeah, in very Woody Allen fashion, they're retelling the story of how Mickey, which is Billy Crystal's character, fell in love with Ellen, and there's this question levitating in the air as to whether they're back together or not. So the movie kind of leaves you in suspense as you go through the ebbs and flows of their relationship throughout the decades. Or it might not be decades, it might be years.
You can't tell. They don't age, which isn't that big of a deal.
Time lapse.
Yeah, I felt like this was maybe 3 years, but they keep saying, oh man, that was a while ago, about something that's brought up.
Right.
So I don't really.
Two of them are timeless, so this is just takes place over 50 years. And
love is timeless.
Yeah, so
I'm surprised they didn't give him some old man makeup. He loved doing that in other films.
He's Miracle Max again in this.
Yeah, exactly.
Without the makeup.
He did direct this film as well. It's only a second directorial effort. He had done Mr. Saturday Night a couple of years ago, which it was sort of a flop, if I remember correctly.
It was a financial flop, but I think it got critical notice.
I mean, David Paymer got an Oscar nomination, which he was notoriously upset about because he didn't get one himself. But I liked Mr. Saturday Night fine. It's not the best, but it's decent Billy Crystal.
I was going to say, he's good at doing insult comedies.
He has a good idea for directing comedy. I don't know if it flows as well in this one. I think the plan to have it be told anecdotally is different, but what's being told isn't very interesting to me. I don't know if that's more in the writing than in the directing. I think he's done a fine job with the set pieces, you know?
Right.
Did you guys enjoy the stuff that Debra Winger and Billy Crystal go through?
So I have to say, I think there's a big segregation between the fact that Billy Crystal is very good at comedy and Debra Winger is not. There's a whole vignette where she has a bird stuck to her head and she's forced to do some like physical comedy, and she is atrocious at it. I think maybe if we had like Meg Ryan in the role, I would have liked it better. Somebody who's stronger at comedy.
Yeah.
she's a divine dramatic actress. Comedy's not her strong suit.
That's a good point.
Also, she, at this point, this was right before she retired from acting for a bit because she
Right.
had to like take care of her dying mother.
Right.
And there was that documentary.
She might have been elsewhere,
Yeah, I was looking up that documentary. I thought it was interesting. I that's where I first heard of her because
Searching for Debra Winger.
yeah, this movie came out when I was say 10, not even 9 still. And when that documentary came out, I'm like, is this a dead actress? Is this someone who like really got reclusive? But no, she was probably hanging out with friends, just not making movies. She didn't like completely leave Hollywood. The thing I feel like I was sort of down on it right away when I was saying, do you think this is good? Essentially, but I think it's more that the plot is fine, and I think it's a vessel for Billy Crystal to do a bit of stand-up because he has a bit about every corner of Paris when he first meets Debra Winger, and he's being a little zany and she's playing along with it. I thought they had decent enough chemistry, but it's more her listening to him than her having zingers herself, or like at least playing along. And like you said, she's a divine dramatic actress. I have seen things since this documentary, but I think there's something missing a little bit. Like I'd rather see it. I don't know if I'd rather see it in order or just have more interesting things for them to do. I started thinking about how global their initial romance is, and if he's a ref and he's going around all these places, maybe it's more interesting to have her get frustrated and see her get frustrated about the global nature of their romance, because she just stays in bed and you then tells him that she's sick of it. Right. And then they get stuck for a while and we see them get stuck rather than see the globetrotting stuff. Maybe he didn't have the budget to go to all the places in America, but I don't know what I would do differently. So I shouldn't call him out for that aspect per se. I don't know. I just started listening to the movie more than I was watching it too, because it was a lot of just like two of them facing each other to tell us a joke,
Very quippy, a little too quippy.
Well, it's Billy Crystal,
right?
Writing and directing and starring, so like it definitely felt like it was almost like a parody of every other rom-com, in the sense that like they go with there's a lot of random cliches that like everybody else who's talking about it at the dinner table are like, oh my god, this. And then Cynthia Stevenson's just crying half the time.
She was kind of funny
as she's getting invested in it, and it's literally just like the way they're telling this story with Joe Mantegna and Cynthia Stevenson. It's almost like the stereotypical couple that goes to see a rom-com. One of those crying and one of those just like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. What is he doing? And it's almost like a meta commentary on all of that, just through Billy Crystal jokes.
Yeah, Julie Kavner comes in and says a couple funny things, but like I think there might be too many comedians popping in. I don't know.
Yeah, and Dan Castellan had it at one point. It was just
right
one third Simpsons characters.
Because Joe
Mantegna was yearly
Tony.
Yeah.
There's a quote from Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly when he reviewed the film, and he calls it a romantic comedy made up entirely of yuppie signifiers, and I can't agree more with that. I think that's maybe what I'm missing, that it's kind of like a first world problems sort of thing.
That's it.
And
oh my god, I've got this high paying super famous job. I'm in charge of the Knicks, and the news is mad at me. And then this other one was just like, I can travel all over the world because of my job,
and I'm incredibly good at that job, and we have no problems. I guess we'll buy a house.
So another reason you could tell that Billy Crystal wrote and directed this for himself is at one point when they do have a kind of a rift, he claims that he's sleeping with all these cheerleaders.
I think that's what it is. I think it's like, I can't relate to this character. Yeah, I love Billy, but this was a little much of that specifically. Too much of his like, I can't miss,
Yeah.
And knowing how refs are too. I know there are a lot of famous hockey refs that have gotten in trouble, and umps they protect the umps quite a bit from notoriety so that people won't find them in the parking lot afterwards, because they're also going to their car. It's not like they go in a tunnel and escape the ballpark really easily. But of course, refs are so front and center. I don't remember if there was a big one for basketball, like there is for hockey, that had controversial calls.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I do think it's funny how, like, you know, the way he was able to pull that off. Apparently Billy Crystal like grew up with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and they were like
yeah,
just really good friends. And
yeah,
this was an excuse to like exploit that friendship.
yeah,
Weird, because usually associate Billy Crystal with baseball.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw in the notes on either this movie or his Wikipedia that he's a big fan of the Clippers, and I was like, Kareem was a big Laker,
Right.
but I didn't know because I didn't follow his career after basketball. I didn't really get into it until college, honestly. He was a coach of the Clippers around the time of this movie. So that's sort of what goes hand in hand. He's probably living in LA in the early 90s and he's going to Clippers games rather than Lakers. Just an interesting thing about their friendship. A lot of good basketball players in here. I thought it was funny. Charles Barkley gets an extended sequence at the beginning, and it reminded me of, I know you've seen this, Cory, that movie Sudden Impact with
I love it.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I think it's the end of this year.
I think it might be this year, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're focusing on a Stanley Cup playoff game where it's the Blackhawks and the Penguins. And I was like, they weren't good in the 90s, but I realized
Yeah.
they had actually just played a couple years earlier in the same scenario. So that's what they're taking.
Right.
And they do that in baseball with the Cleveland Indians in Major League. They're also bad because they were bad through the 80s. So they are taking like real life thing and applying it to this. And so with Charles Barkley here, he's infamously one of the best players to never reach an NBA Finals. So to have him be in an NBA Finals and Billy Crystal messes that up, it's kind of like a dream. This year was one of Charles Barkley's best, 1995. And
So that's a little joke.
they were one of the front runners, and Houston surprised everybody and took not only their series against Phoenix, but ended up winning. And so it's also the era of Michael Jordan. So no one saw any of that coming. They thought it was going to be a Barkley versus Jordan year. So it's kind of like wishful thinking on Billy's part. So I just thought that was funny as a time capsule for basketball fans.
He manifested a good Barkley season.
And then had himself mess it up, which is just funny. That's just for the sports fans out there, because that's the thing I like. Cool that he's friends with Kareem though.
Yeah. There were a lot of cool sight gags. It definitely felt like a Billy Crystal movie in that sense. I like the he's just standing there on the luggage, like waiting for the luggage conveyor to bring the casket up at the beginning. That was a kind of a cool shot. And then at one point in the airport when they're like running after each other, of course he's like walking backwards on the moving sidewalk.
Oh yeah.
That's a very Billy move. What was the other
His goofy big suit in the restaurant, the giant
Yeah.
salad. He's like in a Talking Heads music video.
Right.
When he's getting upset about the casket, he's like, "Look, I know you guys are still upset about Euro Disney."
There are a lot of good bits.
Yeah.
I will give it that. Like Billy himself is funny.
Well, he's like a Borscht Belt comedian. Like he goes there and he insults everybody, and then we move on to the next scene.
Yeah.
Although the one time I actually like audibly laughed was the police escort
Oh yeah.
toward the
Other
end
than that, yeah.
when they're trying to, do in vitro and he's got to go do the business back at home and then get stuck in traffic and
They
tries to
wouldn't
weave
allow
through
that, right?
traffic and like what?
They wouldn't allow him to go home and do it, right?
I don't
I
know.
don't think so.
I've not
think
been in
so.
that position.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have never done it before. It usually happens at home for me, but not for those purposes.
Yeah.
Moving on.
But anyway,
That'll get cut out.
No, I like it. I just didn't know what to say to it.
that also brings another point where there's a pattern of other characters retelling the same story like multiple times throughout the show,
Mhm.
throughout the movie. Like that's Billy Crystal telling the whole movie to the cop and then getting everyone up to speed.
How did you feel about Joe Montana? He's sort of a third lead because he's the
Uh,
narrator in ways,
Yeah,
but
he was important because he was the narrator, but I
kept waiting for him to spout some Mammoth dialogue.
yeah, he is a big meme guy.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just
He,
felt
like-
bad because he could have come out of this having shown off his comedic chops because I think he has good timing, but he just doesn't look like a comedic actor. It's kind of like who's the guy that's in Law and Order that was a stand-up guy? He just passed
Oh.
away.
Richard Belzer.
Yeah, Richard Belzer, I never knew was a comedic actor because he got shoehorned into drama with Law and Order. And so I feel like Joe Montana is a little bit in that because of Criminal Minds.
Yeah, I feel like he was underutilized in this
Mhm.
probably because Billy's like, well, I'm the funny one, so
Yeah, maybe that's it.
he was playing the straight man to Billy.
Even Richard Mazer, who can be funny in things, didn't get to shine in this per se.
Right.
Like you don't see him outside of the dinner, except for, hey, here's your job, because he gives him a job at one point.
Yeah.
That's
I digress. I'm a big fan of The West Wing, so I was happy to see John Spencer there. So it was an interesting role for him, different, because he's usually generals or someone in politics in some way. So having him be a normal guy was kind of refreshing.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Like I said with Mazer, I thought Julia Kavner was good every time she
I
said
wish
something, but she
I wish
didn't get a
Kathy
lot to do.
Moriarty. I
Yeah,
wish
Kathy
Kathy-
Moriarty is really underutilized too.
I was gonna say I wish she had more to do. She doesn't come until like the last segment.
I know.
Yeah.
I think she's underutilized in her whole career.
That's fair.
We forget about her in a lot of hidden gems ourselves. This is her third film we've covered.
Right.
But
I guess after Raging Bull, everything's kind of down.
I think she just didn't stick in a
Yeah.
lot of bigger roles.
Soap dish.
Yeah, she's good in that.
I did like the waiter.
Oh,
Yeah.
Waiter was
Blue.
fun.
was it Richard Costanzo?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Harvey Bullock, the voice of Harvey Bullock in the Batman
His
animated
sardonic
series.
quips were funny.
Yeah, that was a cool bit where he came up with a different way to describe a drink
Yeah.
every time I got served. That was good. I like
It's
that.
like me, bubbly and wants to go home.
I knew that's the one you would latch onto.
Well, that's the last one he says, so it's not gonna have the champagne.
I think what I wanted was for all of them to be outside of it, and you don't really appreciate when they're in the anecdotes themselves. I don't know. It's kind of a slight film, unfortunately. And I will say this, even though I loved it as a kid, and it's hindsight mostly, this is still better than Pyromaniac's Love Story.
Oh yes.
So
In terms of
Well,
having two romantic comedies back to back.
yeah,
yeah, someone's going through a phase.
yeah. Speaking
Maybe.
of phases, did you notice there's a ton of we won't go into the other movies, but there's a lot of Paris this year. Like we already had Before Sunset. I don't want to transition into it yet, but we'll talk about another film that
no.
came out literally 2 weeks before about Paris when
Yeah.
we talk about Cory's films. But it's
Yeah.
just kind of funny. There's something about Paris in 1995.
Having a
What was going on with Paris during circa 1995?
I mean, Jacques Chirac was there. I don't know. They didn't have an Olympics or anything, but maybe people hadn't. This is basically Billy's Paris vacation because he gets a lot of B-roll of him in front of the Eiffel Tower and other landmarks like that. Oh, you know what? I love that bit where they're hopping to try and see the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
It's kind of accurate about seeing it in person. It's so small and there's such a distance between you and the actual painting that you barely see it. And there's such a crowd. So that was kind of fun.
The sightseeing picture where he's taking a picture of the arch and you just see like their foreheads.
Right. That whole sequence was pretty fun.
Yeah. But again, it makes fun of all of those sightseeing montages in romantic comedies.
Yeah, I think it's good on a surface level, but like I said, because it's slight, I think I don't know what else to talk about other than I guess he's funny.
I was gonna say the fact that you're saying
It's good.
like it kind of deconstructs the genre, but then it just becomes kind of a traditional example of the genre, especially her just showing up at the game at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be like really heart pumping, really thrilling that she chose to come back before he even gets out of the spot he's in to go to her.
Right.
Like, she is more romantic than he is even.
Right.
It reminded me a lot of, because of the deconstruction, They Come Together, that movie with Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd,
I like that a lot
where
better.
they're trying to flip all the tropes on their head. Have you ever seen this, Jeff?
I haven't.
I think you'd like it a lot.
It's from the people who did Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah. And they're doing a similar thing where they're taking scenes like this and just like being irreverent with it, calling out the weirdness that is romantic comedy. But it came at a time when romantic comedies were dying in the theater, so it barely came out. I don't know if it was too late, but I think it's a better example of this. Maybe I just like Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd more than Debra Winger and Billy Crystal.
Sure.
Debra Winger and Billy Crystal walked so that Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd could run.
Yeah. I guess Michael Shannon's the William Hickey of this.
God, he was in that.
Yeah, the old guy in this made a whole name for himself doing weird old man bits in movies like this in the 90s. He's in
He passed
Wings.
away.
He's
Like,
not too shortly after, yeah.
yeah, like a year after. I think it was one of the credits.
He was only like 60 though. He looks 80. I don't know what's going on.
I know he looks terrible.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guy.
But in all fairness, he always looked that age because in Prince's Honor, which is like the 80s,
Right.
He looked the same
He's
age.
like 40 and he looks like he does here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you want to do? Ratings?
I feel like we went so fast there. I feel bad.
I mean, it's your standard rom-com. Like it's not really
Yeah.
like
Not a
nothing
lot
really
of
stood out other than the fact that Billy Crystal directed it, and
right. Not a lot of context.
yeah,
No.
it's. I'm trying to think of like if we missed anything.
I had one funny thing to me. I don't think it was funny to Billy Crystal because it only got one award at all for best male dubbing at the Italian National Syndicate of Film Journalists for Luca Biagini for dubbing Billy's lines in the Italian version. So it's not even good enough for any English
That is an
language
impressive.
awards.
I feel like Billy was somewhat bitter that he was the only person in comic relief not to get an Oscar of the three headliners.
Mm-hmm.
Got one, then Robin got one. Billy still has.
He's clearly trying with
He's
Mr.
hosted.
Saturday Night, and then he isn't trying as hard with this, but this does obviously have a flair that could get Oscar consideration. So I don't know whether he wants to be more commercially successful or get an Oscar. And I think he's chasing that a little bit in the 90s because he does Father's Day, and I think that was supposed to at first be an Oscar bait movie, and My Giant is supposed to be a little more dramatic.
Right.
So I think he desperately wanted to get an Oscar and just never was going to.
I think even that movie recently directed Here Today, a little Oscar baity.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the best and one of the most prolific Oscar hosts. So he has a bit of Bob Hope syndrome. But I loved the Billy Oscar ceremonies. It's what I started with. I think the first one I saw was next year or maybe 2 years because he does the one where English Patient and then Titanic win.
Right.
And that's around when I started watching the Oscars. And you guys know I'm obsessed with that. So
And it was the Oscars, and hasn't he hosted SNL a bunch of times too?
I think he has.
Yeah.
I saw he
was on a season.
Oh, that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I know he won an Emmy for hosting the Grammys, which is an interesting sentence to say.
I always love when award shows win awards. We've reached the singularity.
Laura's
Everything's just
The snake is eating its own tail.
Yeah.
This recursion of just handing each other trophies.
He won 3 more for hosting the Oscars too. So
Listen,
To be fair, he's a great host.
he is. He did good stage shows too. The 700 Sundays, he also won an Emmy for that, or Tony.
Now,
wasn't
he
there also
directed a TV movie about Mantle.
and yeah, 61 Mantle and Roger Maris's chase for breaking Babe Ruth's home run record.
I heard it's the best thing he's directed.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have never gotten around to watching that.
they also made a stage show out of Mr. Saturday Night.
He did, yeah. Did you get to see that when it was up?
No.
Have you ever seen the movie?
No.
I feel like you'd like that more than this for his directing efforts, you know.
Yeah. Oddly enough, like for as prolific as he is, I haven't seen much with Billy Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Like other than the Oscars or Monsters Inc., you know. Like
Yeah. He's ubiquitous throughout the 90s, but he's not as, you know, benchmark a marquee star as you might think. I think he's just at all the events.
Right.
So, you know, you see a premiere of something else, he's probably at it.
Yeah. He's just there.
He's just there.
It was always there in our childhood.
I remember watching reruns of Soap.
Yeah, How's Soap? I've never seen that.
It was really good. It was a send up of those daytime soap operas.
Mm-hmm.
He played, I think it was innovative for its time because he played one of the first gay characters, openly gay characters on
I've
TV.
heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
And it had the Bensons, a spin-off of that, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I want to watch those 2 shows, so maybe I'll get to that after I finish Cheers. I've been going through that. It's a good idea.
Oh my God. I just found something out.
Are you looking at his filmography?
I am. Yeah. Figuring out that he did something 15 years before one of our other favorite schlocky movies.
Did he go to White Castle in 88?
No. He was the world's first pregnant man in 1978.
Rabbit Pest.
Oh, yeah.
The poster is hilarious.
Yes.
Is it? I didn't look at it.
It's just it looks like Junior. Only it's him and Rivers.
But it's Joan Rivers literally wearing a shirt that says director person pointing at his pregnant belly.
I've heard it's awful.
But the tagline, where do you buy maternity jockey shorts? Question mark.
Oh boy.
Like it's just a quote.
The two of them together.
Oh boy. Okay.
3.1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Gotta watch
Yeah.
it.
What would you give this as a grade?
A C for Crystal.
That's good.
There you go.
Oh god, I'm looking at the poster now for Rabbit Test.
You got to put that over.
Here, I'll share it real quick. Here, I'll put it next to our faces. We're looking at it. I love that the bees in Rabbit Test are rabbits. It's cute. Anyway, I would probably maybe I'll give it a B for Billy.
Ooh.
There you go.
Damn, I'm now gonna pick a different rate.
We're climbing up. Trying to make you give it an A.
Well, that's
For
not
absolutely amazing.
I'm gonna go C plus. Because like I said, there's an incongruity here. I think Billy is very funny at times, and I think Debra Winger just kind of flatlines. And as you said, I think a lot of the scenarios are a little too high concept and broad. If he's trying to keep things kind of grounded.
Yeah, that's it's a tonal shift between he wants to do cool set pieces, but also wants to rip your heart out with the emotion. So
I did like the fact that it's like he lives in a world where he's responsible for the rules, but outside of that, he's like, whatever, let's just do things.
Yeah, I think he gets his own character down.
Yeah.
That is a good thing. Good point.
It was very much like it was tough to watch, not because it was necessarily bad, but like I'm not usually a fan of rom-coms to begin with.
Really?
And it was just very I don't know. It insists upon itself.
Oh boy.
I don't criticism.
Yeah.
No, but it also could have been because I was watching it super late.
I know. We pushed you.
Well,
hey, we were trying to replicate the effects of jet lag, which is what he has at the beginning of the film.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Can we dial it back a second though? I heard you mention you don't like rom-coms at all.
I said I don't
touch on
usually.
Okay, yeah. Which ones do you like, if any?
I can't name any off the top of my head.
Okay.
That's how like
Well,
average they are to me.
Interesting. Yeah, I never knew this about you somehow. Have I been trying to get you to watch these movies and you're always either like passing or you're just like doing it to watch a movie with me?
That's basically why do you think we do this podcast?
Don't worry, next month is a rom-com between a man and a gorilla.
That's true. It'll rip your heart out.
Literally.
Literally.
But I'm also the type of person who looks at like, Superbad as a rom-com, if you think
that's
about
fair.
it.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to get with the girls at the party.
The traditional, like, will they, won't they, let's meet in Paris. Like, that's why I like that this movie was making fun of that. That's what the enjoyment I got out of it. But if this was a straight, like, your typical Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
I was like, eh.
I do think that, and I shit on Hallmark movies way too much for their own good, but they became like a romantic comedy factory. And so they were just like a dime a dozen. I'd walk in the room and my parents would be like, oh, it's 10 minutes left. They're about to have the reveal that she has a boyfriend back home and stuff like that. Like it's down to the second what's happening in this movie. And even the bigger romantic comedies like this can have a bit of a pattern that they don't need, even if they're deconstructing it.
Yes.
So
like Harry.
I get that. Oh, he is in that. All right. I mentioned earlier that there were some other films. I don't think you're actually highlighting.
This
French
one's a
Kiss.
bonus. Yeah,
French Kiss is sort of a bonus. We're not really going to show anything, but I wanted to bring up the fact that there were 2 French-based movies this month.
Right.
Which is wild. And one's more successful, which is French Kiss.
It is? Okay.
Yeah. By far.
I think they're almost tantamount though in quality.
Oh. You had never watched it, right?
I watched it specifically for the podcast, but
you never watched it until now.
No.
Yeah. I watched this back in high school. Our French teacher showed it to us.
Funny. Now that I'm thinking about it, if they had switched the 2 female leads, I think each movie would have been better.
I could see Debra Winger doing French Kiss.
Yeah.
And getting flabbergasted about the plot.
You could have bounced off Kevin Kline a little bit better.
Yeah. And I like French Kiss.
It's not bad. It's not
better
bad.
than this.
I think The smuggling subplot takes a little bit. I could have done without that part.
I think they're trying to harken back to the not Fierce Creatures, the other one, the one that he got the Oscar nomination
Just called
for.
Wanda.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do a little bit of Fish Called Wanda,
Right.
play on that a bit.
I mean, he's great in the movie.
Yeah, I think the men in both films really nail it, but
Yeah.
they also go more in France because it's all set around the country rather than.
It looks very idyllic, and yeah, I was gonna say you get way more sightseeing.
Yeah,
Also, did we say who wrote and directed French Kiss?
I forget myself.
Lawrence Kasdan.
Oh, who'd worked a bunch with Kevin Kline,
Yeah, Big
Hmm.
Chill. Yeah.
Grand Canyon.
But yeah, in terms of between the two of them, I think I prefer French Kiss.
Me too. And I don't want to forget Paris. I want a French Kiss.
Anywho, there's
I'd been saving that just for you.
we're actually highlighting. I'll try to go through them relatively fast because there's 6 of them.
Yeah.
But number 6, I know it's a nostalgic favorite for a lot of people. I personally watched it later in life, so maybe it didn't hit me the way it should. Casper.
Oh, Jeff loved Casper.
See?
It's finally come up.
Yes. It's the first movie that I remember being anxious or concerned about it coming out on home video because we watched it in the theater and I was like, when does this come out on home tape?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
Can't just watch it on reel to reel.
when can we watch this on video? I want to get this from Easy Video.
Uh-huh.
And my dad's like 6 months, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a
Remember when
long
that was
time
the
back.
Through those
turnaround?
theatrical windows.
Now it's like on you know,
On
streaming
demand in
the
a
week after it's released.
I know. Can almost see Sinners already. Yeah, I didn't watch this until recently either. I had no idea what happened to the characters. I'm surprised that wasn't spoiled for me in the last 30
Right.
years.
Did you know that this was a backdoor Ghostbusters sequel?
Yeah, I had no idea.
It just shows up.
Yeah, I agree. I can see why you're saying the nostalgia factor is strong in this one. It's good, but it's not mind-blowing or anything.
A little too juvenile for me at this age.
Yeah, I would have loved it as a kid, though. I should have seen it when I was 9.
Right.
That was also, I think that was the first Christina Ricci movie that I saw because I saw this before I saw Addams Family. Although I think because that didn't come out for a few years anyway.
Those are already done. Addams Family is like 91.
Okay,
Addams
yeah,
Family
I
Value is
didn't-
93. It makes sense because you would have been a little young for those 2 movies. This is peak starting to go to the theater for you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So that makes
I
sense.
remember Pizza Hut had like the puppets or whatever.
Oh, the hand puppets?
Ghosts, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I collected a lot of Casper merch.
Yeah.
The movie was a huge hit, so I'm surprised it didn't spawn like a sequel or anything.
Me too. Well, it had those straight to DVD ones.
I know, but the theatrical one is kind of weird.
It is weird.
They had a little bit of integrity. Like, wait, is that also Catherine Moriarty? No, that's not.
Yes,
Yeah,
Catherine
What?
Moriarty.
Oh God! Wait a
Yeah.
minute.
She's
With
better
her-
than that.
Yeah, she's got a bigger role in that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah. And her stuff is actually kind of funny.
That's true. She's one of the highlights of the movie. Her and Eric Idle.
Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's archive footage. I saw Mr. Rogers.
Mel Gibson.
Oh yeah, Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood have a cameo.
Fred Rogers and Mel Gibson in the same movie.
Yeah, think about it. Dirty Harry and Mad Max. So in terms of other family films that came out around the era, Little Princess came out, which I believe you could correct me on this, Tristan. I don't know if you did any research on this. I think it's Alfonso Cuarón's English debut.
That was what I remembered.
Okay.
I didn't double check, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I can look it up as you're telling us.
Yeah. So it's an adaptation of a book that was also adapted in 1939 with Shirley Temple. And the little girl in this actually taps into a lot of that precociousness. Just based on watching this with the sets and everything and how everything is so ornate, I could see why they tapped him to do Prisoner of Azkaban.
Or Great Expectations.
Yeah, the production's dazzling.
This is his first English language film. He only did one before this, though.
Okay, but it's funny that this is back when they would this is before that trend where they would take people out of obscurity and give them like big projects to work on.
Interestingly, he's made 5 English language films and only 3 Spanish language films.
Okay. I was gonna say he's part of that triptych of Spanish directors, Best Picture throughout the years.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro and
Inarritu.
yeah, Inarritu is the third guy.
but they're all working on huge projects now, like Gravity.
Did you watch A Little Princess for this, or maybe back
I
then?
did. No, I'd never seen it before. I watched it for this. It's good.
Mhm.
Weirdly enough, I could tell he's not a first-time director, but maybe a sophomore director because he does a lot of image dissolves within scenes. I'm just like, that's an unnecessary flourish that you don't need.
He probably found the technique and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that
Yeah.
a lot." Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good movie. I would recommend it to the family.
Okay.
Unsung Keanu Reeves movie came out this this month. I personally like it. I could see why it's kind of a bastardization of the novel.
Mm.
And also the director had the cut taken away, so but Johnny Mnemonic came out. And this was predated The Matrix before he really got into sci-fi realm.
Hmm.
But it's a great premise. He plays like a courier who gets digital information uploaded into his brain. It's based on a William Gibson book, and he has to transport it from place to place. It's a great premise. And actually, we're so used to Keanu in his real life being this very Zen-like, wispy character. I kind of like movies where he's a little more cynical and jaded like this.
Hmm. After the Bill and Ted movies, he was looking for something to showcase himself, and he'd done stuff like My Private Idaho, and
Right.
ended up getting into these sci-fi films, and everyone kind of put him off to the back, thinking he would get stuck in like quote shitty movies. And The
Right.
Matrix became the good version of those shitty movies.
Right.
And you look back in hindsight, and Johnny Mnemonic's just a forerunner to it.
Right.
Did you know William Gibson coined the term cyberspace?
I did not.
Yeah.
I did.
So that's
I've been a Gibson head for a number of years.
have you ever seen this?
No, I
Of
haven't.
course not. We should watch it. I've never seen it either.
I know that this is Tristan's favorite of the franchise, I believe, which is Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third
I like
movie.
the first one.
Okay, I know certain people say that they prefer this over the first one. I think that's not.
I think I like it a lot. I think I like it as much as the first Die Hard. And
Okay,
it's also the first one I saw.
it's the first one I saw in the theater for sure because I saw it with my dad.
You know what it is? You know how these movies are often on a TNT or something, and you see it bits and pieces? I saw a great chunk of With a Vengeance before I saw any of Die Hard 1. And I think I just had to buy the box set to watch them in order. So I didn't see any of them in full until like '06,
Oh, wow.
because I was trying, because I had essentially seen 1 and 3, but all out of order and all mixed together.
Right.
So I think I like them equally because of that, honestly. It's all kind of one big film to me. But I do like the inclusion of a person like Samuel Jackson. He's actually involved in the action instead of like a cop on the outside, just like radioing in.
Yeah, it also set a precedent that he would team up with partners after that, which if you're not Sam Jackson, I don't need any inferior partners.
Yeah. It also showcases New York, which I love when you set stuff in New York and it's all
Right.
gritty, and they start with summer in the city, and it's
That's great.
Especially
Well,
1990s New York.
yeah.
also,
Yeah.
I guess this was the last big hit for John McTiernan. 'Cause
Yeah.
after this, he does like 13th Warrior, which is I think it's a really underrated movie,
We
but
could cover that.
that movie tanked.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of reshoots associated with that, and then he was doing things like Rollerball remake, wiretapping
That's
scandal.
what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's really what derailed him. I'm sure he had projects in the pipeline and it just didn't come to
sure.
fruition because of that. And because he was kind of on a downswing,
Right.
just didn't have a chance to come back.
What's the last great thing he does? And
It's 30 years ago now.
right.
It's a shame.
So, as many of you know, sadly, Gene Hackman passed away not too long ago. But in commemoration of him, Crimson Tide came out this month. A great two-hander with him and Denzel, set on a submarine where they're both debating and advocating for nuclear deterrence. And the two powerhouse actors going up against each other. How could you not like that? Tony Scott at the top of his game. It's just the whole movie's just a pressure cooker. It's great. Have you seen it?
I haven't yet, and that's the one I would have tried to see this month, but like I said, nothing was available anywhere. So I didn't have the time anyway, so I didn't
Right.
bother like purchasing it to watch. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you'll remember if this was one of your picks when we did Gene Hackman in any of the films we've covered. But either
Man.
way, isn't this in your top 5, Gene Hackman, for
Oh,
sure?
absolutely. And that's hard to say. Well, that's hard.
There's a lot of good movies,
A
yeah.
lot of great movies. But yeah, I think they bring out the best out of each other, him and Denzel.
I gotta just purchase them
It's,
DVD or something.
you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But my number one pick of the month went on to win Best Picture. It's Braveheart.
What a surprise.
I'm trying to think, it's probably Mel's best directorial effort. I really like Apocalypto,
But this is
but
his calling card,
this is his Dance with Wolves.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I still give a slight edge to Rob Roy. I think I like it a little bit better, but this is no
It's
slap.
wild too. 2 months in a row we had great Scottish epics.
Yeah, but yeah, it just showcases everything great about Mel. Like he's not afraid to showcase the brutality of the period. He's also very interested in the politics of the period. So you got these great epic battle scenes that are really well shot,
Large scale.
large scale.
Like Rob Roy is just
Easy
sword fighting.
Yeah, this is one of the few like Best Picture winners where I'm just like, I could see why.
You agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see when we give our awards at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Next month or 2 months from now, I forget exactly, my best picture pick comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that brings us to Jeff's segment.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, I forgot what it even was. Just brought it up. Okay.
Oh my god. Okay. So it is we're looking at a bright blue sky overlooking, I want to say
Give
St.
this 4
Louis.
stars.
St. Louis. With some nice clouds in the sky and a pig. The pig is wearing sunglasses and a handkerchief that is striped. I want to say maybe it's a Union Jack. I don't know.
Okay.
That'd be pretty wacky.
Yeah.
The pig is flying, presumably.
Who knew pigs could fly?
Who knew pigs could fly? Whatever this movie was, it got 4 stars according to that other part that you left up there.
There's a quote that I'm going to end this with.
Yes.
That
So
you don't have to guess. I just want to show you.
okay. So that's the poster. There's a pig in the sky over Seattle. What would you like me to go for first?
Well, as is tradition, do you recognize this film?
I don't.
Okay.
It strikes me as something that I've seen the poster for. I don't
Interesting.
remember the rest of it.
Okay. I was
Like,
trying to
it's
get you to
something
say
that- 'cause there
Babe
was-
Pig in the City.
Right.
But it is not Babe Pig in the City.
I was going to.
Babe hasn't
but,
even
like,
come
that's-
out yet.
That's
Right.
too obvious.
Yeah, there were themes in this year.
Also, Babe never wore sunglasses.
It's
I know
true.
that this is canon. Babe never wore sunglasses.
I never
This
saw
is
Babe Pig in
not-
the City, so
This is not that.
Jeff knows his Babe lore.
yeah.
That
He would never
won't-
wear
that
sun-
won't do, pig.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. That you get points for that. Do you want to give a plot based on this poster?
So you remember Big Fat Liar?
I do.
Imagine if Paul Giamatti was just played by an actual pig.
He's played a rhino.
I'm
The pig
listening.
the pig is just. Although I don't know, those sunglasses mean it was he's up to mischief.
Yeah, he's in his
Somewhat.
risky business phase.
The pig is like pulling.
His
the
future still
strings.
bright. He's got to wear shades.
The pig is pulling the strings on the whole operation.
Yeah.
I think there's a bank heist, and the pig is like the getaway driver, or like
Okay.
is related somehow to.
Yeah. So like instead of
the team.
Boss Baby, it's Boss Pig. Boss Porky.
Or Boss Hog, if you will.
Boss Hog, yes. Is that the name you would come up with for this
No.
plot?
Wasn't that from Dukes of
Dukes of
Hazzard?
Hazzard.
Yeah, but you just do 1G. And then that's the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like some sort of Airbud thing. I'm presuming the pig talks.
Nice.
He's Babe's city slicker cousin.
I want to confirm this with Cory, but he does talk to humans,
Yes.
unlike Babe, who just talks to other animals.
Talks to humans.
Is this just
So you got it. That's points for you.
is this a comedic retelling of Animal Farm?
That's what I wish.
Which is actually I think that's actually coming out. Side note. There's an
Well,
animated
I heard
version
that.
with,
Of
like,
a
Seth
genuine
Rogen.
adaptation,
Genuine
though.
adaptation. but
Yeah,
with
Andy
a bunch of
Serkis.
comedians. So it's like,
Yeah. Well, they
welcome
can
to
be the most dramatic.
2025.
What would you give as a tagline to the movie we've come up with, Boss Hog,
Boss Hog.
where he's heisting?
You'll
He's the
believe,
mastermind of the heist.
You'll believe a pig can fly.
Very good. I
Ocean's,
like that.
Ocean's Bacon.
Say again?
Ocean's Bacon.
Ooh, that's yeah, I mean the first Ocean's 11 came out like in the 60s. Well, the original Ocean's 1101 is a remake. So, all right, I will show you the first tagline.
The little pig who hit it big. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was
involved in a gambling ring.
closer.
The pig. Okay, all right. Hear me out.
Okay.
The pig goes undercover to infiltrate a dogfighting ring
Ooh.
in downtown, and
St. Louis.
nobody recognizes that it's a pig, and he takes it all.
Like he wins against the
Like
dogs. He's not stopping the dog fighting.
He wins against the dogs by talking them into throwing the fights, and then he
And he'll give him
also
kibble.
brings down a criminal enterprise.
Yeah, if you throw this, I'll give you some steaks. Ham steaks? You know someone? Yeah, I know some guys.
I know a guy.
All right, so here's the actual plot, all in tagline.
He's a small town pig whose family has been kidnapped. Now he's off to the big city to find them. He's got 2 friends and 1 secret weapon. He can talk.
So here's the thing. This comes out months before Babe 1, and they even have in the tagline Big City, which is the plot of the second one.
Huh.
Did George Miller rip off this movie?
Was it Babe based on a book?
Also, wait.
I thought so.
Even Pig in the City. I think he's in Paris.
Is he?
I believe so.
The whole time it took place in France, not like Kansas?
I think he goes over there.
So he flies on a plane.
He goes over there because his dad died for fighting in Normandy.
And he meets Debra Winger. I left off the top thing just because I need you to read this and the audacity.
Good Lord.
That's great.
4 stars. Roll over Beethoven. See ya, Simba. This is the year of the pig.
They were right, just not about this film. You named it Boss. Well, I named it Boss Hog. I kind of sold that to you. But if you came up with another name, now that you know the actual plot, what would you name this film?
Bacon.
All right. I'll give you one more, and then I'll show you the real name. Because the real name isn't any pig pun. It's just his name.
It wasn't just Curly?
No, it's just Gordy.
Gordy.
And that's why he's in the air in the first place. He's standing on his title. So
yeah,
it's not even that clever.
Wow.
It's real Photoshop.
I thought he was going to be like clinging onto the side of an airplane, Tom Cruise style.
Right.
Like there's a heist, an actual heist sequence.
Mission Imporkable.
There's a Cory on the wing of the plane.
Mission Imporkable.
John Lithgow sees him out there and starts freaking out.
Yeah. Tells Shatner, and Shatner goes crazy. Anyway, I didn't have just one poster this month. There is a second one. Oh, in case this wasn't as funny as it ended up being. So kudos. But this was a just in case.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
This is a little obtuse. So more, I want you to come up with a plot based on this poster because there's not much to give you.
It's a skull with sunglasses and a gold tooth. From Spike Lee and the producer of Menace to Society. So I think it's Tales from the Crypt, but the Crypt Keeper is a deceased rapper.
Jeff, you're so close.
A hip hop artist comes back from the dead. Is it called Rip Hop?
I like that.
R.I.P.
Yeah, I like that.
You were close at the beginning.
Yeah, you started to say the title.
Okay. Great. Tales from the Crypt? No.
Oh my God.
Also
is yeah.
We're going too far.
Close enough, but I'll just show you. Oh, that's the tagline. If it's Tales from the Hood. What would you say is a tagline to Tales from the Hood?
I have no idea. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is more so we could talk about it because we were looking at the year and we were about to do what did we do in January? What's the name of that with the actual Tales from the Crypt?
Oh God.
Demon Night.
Demon Night, thank you. Yeah. But then as we got to May, we saw Tales from the Hood and we're like, oh shoot, should we go back and switch Demon Night with something and do Tales from the Hood? Because they're both kind of similar. And we're like, nah, let's stick with Demon Night. And we're like, well, we could do this as a poster, which kind of none of the posters were good in May, to be honest. You milked everything you could out of Gordy, so I'm proud of that. But we just kind of wanted to talk about the fact that there were two kind of hip hop horror films in the
This
first few
seems
months
like
of
this-
95.
It seems like a Halloween movie that released at the wrong point.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you heard about Tales from the Hood, what would you give as its
As its tagline,
tagline and maybe a plot?
some sort of play on Ghostbusters. I'm trying to think. Well, the plot, obviously, there was some beef. Someone got unalived and came back for vengeance, and in the meantime dropped the sickest track in the entire universe, while also, as it's getting all of its radio play, turns other people into unwitting zombies, and it just becomes a thriller.
It's a viral hit.
It's a viral hit.
I like this.
And it's just a feature. It's another version of Thriller.
Yeah. No, I like this plot.
But the tagline, I don't know.
I mean, everything's gravy at this point. You got a lot of points. So
there's a new. I still want to go with something with rip hop.
yeah, give a tagline off a rip hop.
It's the hot new genre. I don't know.
That sounds like someone in
I'm out of that.
1995
I'm
trying
going-
to come up with a tagline for a hip hop movie.
I'm losing steam.
Yeah, that's fine. Chill or be chilled.
Cool.
Your most terrifying nightmare and your most frightening reality are about to meet on the streets. Little racist, right?
Well, it's predominantly black filmmakers, so I guess I get away with it.
I don't know who came up with the tagline though. It's often white executives. So anyway, Tales from the Hood. So yeah. Oh. Well,
Ah!
Sunglasses and Paris.
May 95.
It's a heart attack.
Yeah, Bacon will do that. Well, as we're losing steam, so did Billy Crystal in the 90s.
Oh God.
Oh wow.
That was
That was a horrible
that's
segment.
almost
However,
David Spade territory.
we wanted to highlight him because we did love him in his 80s films, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, etc., etc. So I did want to ask you guys what you thought you might pick as a Billy Crystal movie to highlight for our listeners and viewers.
See, my top two picks, he's not really in much, but
Mm-hmm.
one that he co-stars with Robert De Niro, one of my favorite comedies of the 90s, which is Analyze This.
There you go. That's a good one. What were the two that he's not really in much?
So like Princess Bride
Sure. Great cameo. Probably the best small role in
and Spinal
history.
Tap.
Yeah, he's like a manager in Spinal Tap, right?
He's a mime.
Oh, he's the mime. I forgot about that. I guess I'll highlight a bigger film of his. It's kind of what actually finally thrust him into the cinema spotlight. Running Scared
Well, I was hoping you were gonna say that.
was one of the early films I watched in Rebecca and my relationship. She was like, "How have you not seen this?" So that was one of the highlights of our movie watching relationship together. So it's a fond memory.
One of the best action comedies.
Yeah, I mean, I love Gregory Hines and I like Billy Crystal and other stuff. So to pair the two of them together, it's comedy gold. I'm surprised there wasn't a sequel to that.
Oh my God, I forgot he also had a cameo in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
He does. What does he do in that? I forget. Because that movie is very forgettable.
He's uncredited as mattress salesman.
I'm surprised he didn't go with
It's a lame gag.
the Supreme Leader or whatever his name is, so that he had a reunion with his Analyze This co-star.
Well, they did a sequel.
I know.
Analyze That with Kathy Moriarty.
That's true. She is in
Yeah.
that. I imagine the two of them are friends because they're in a bunch of stuff together.
Yeah.
You guys already mentioned the ones that I was gonna.
Were you going to do Running Scared
No,
or Analyze This?
no, I was gonna go with Princess Bride, but only.
Oh, that's
because
fine.
Is a cameo,
Who cares? Like I said,
So-
it's one of the best cameos in history.
or the classic Monsters Inc.
Which one would you rather?
Well, since Princess Bride is one of the few romantic comedies that I actually enjoy, I will go with that one, even though it's just he's the one that everyone quotes.
Sure.
That
If I
is
had a
the
nickel
epitome
for-
of romantic comedy for me. So if you had to like any of them,
I had
that's a good
a-
one.
If I had a nickel for every time someone told me to have fun storming the castle,
Mm-hmm.
Unstomach
one of
the
those-
castle.
one of those immortal lines. So,
It's
yeah,
a very good
Princess Bride.
theater person film.
Yes.
Yeah, all good picks.
Mhm.
I think couldn't go wrong with anything. Obviously, When Harry Met Sally is probably his biggest film. And City Slickers is not a bad choice either. I think I picked that for something in the past, though.
Yeah.
I don't know who we would have done. Daniel Stern? I don't remember. Maybe I just mentioned I had just bought it.
Oh, I think I know why. Because Ron Underwood did Tremors.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I think that's why we would have talked about it. But yeah, he hasn't had a huge career. It's all about personality for him.
Right.
And the films he has made are so memorable, including even a Princess Bride, that you think he's been in more things.
Yeah, he's only got 79 credits. Although,
and most of those are himself.
I kind of want to watch this Apple TV show that he's in.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this before.
Great.
Yeah.
Looks creepy.
It does. Well, it's like, yeah, that's why I'm interested in like Billy Crystal in a horror movie or a horror TV show, thriller thing.
Man, he's trying to redesign himself or whatever.
There's a video that he's credited for, City Slickers in Westworld.
Oh yeah, they did a little funny thing for HBO right before Westworld came out, or maybe right after, and it was a huge hit. It was very funny. And he still pops up and does amusing things from time to time, but his heyday was clearly now. I hate to like call him out.
Hey.
He's still around. I went to see Father's Day in theaters, and it was one of the worst experiences.
Awful.
It's such a bad movie. The big highlight is that they're trying to get to a Sugar Ray concert. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson has a cameo on that as well.
Father's Day. It's his movie with Robin Williams.
Yeah, and they're both terrible in it.
I'm sad that Whoopi said no to being in it. She was smart. But yeah, it was rough for Billy right at the end of the 90s. And I think he didn't lose any goodwill. He just didn't get any steam back for what he needed to do something like Mr. Saturday Night or Forget Paris, unfortunately. Like, I think he could have segued into being a great director of other people, but I think he always wanted to get himself in the forefront.
Yeah.
So I think that's the shame of it, because he could have been much more prolific than we would have anticipated.
Right.
And honestly, he got his money with Monsters Inc. So
yeah,
good for him. We all love those films.
And every time he wants a couple bucks, he could just make a Mike Wazowski cameo in some short.
Yeah, I do have fond memories of seeing that the first time. It's my favorite Pixar.
Yeah.
Still,
I haven't seen University yet.
It's not as good.
Yeah.
But to be expected.
I heard the show was good.
Well, next month, as Cory alluded to a little bit, we're not quite doing a romantic comedy. We are going back to the Michael Crichton well, speaking of Westworld as well. And we're covering his 1995 adaptation of Congo. We're going into the jungle, boys. What lies in the hearts of darkness could be anything.
Only Congo knows.
Only Congo knows. You have a good story about meeting one of the actors.
Yeah.
This will be fun. I think it'll be fun. I do like Congo. It starts the trend for me about something that's kind of wild, but we'll see. I'm excited about talking about it, especially because we could talk about other Michael Crichton stuff and all the actors with it.
And the story behind it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Wild
story to begin with. Yeah. All right. We'll see you next month. Never forget Paris. Forget Paris. Forget Paris. That's why the internet's gonna mess up soon.